Hey everybody, welcome for another game of 1977 Chicago White Sox Southside Hitmen season replay. We just recently finished up the All-Star break. We're ready to get back at it. Game 91 takes us north of the border to Toronto, Canada. And it's just like game one of the season. We're back in game one of the All-Star break in the same location in Toronto, Exhibition Stadium, against the Blue Jays. And there's the pitching matchup for today's game. Wilbur Wood, the lefty, against Jerry Garvin, the lefty. So a couple of southpaws going at it. And let's look at the starting lineups for each team. First, beginning with the visiting Chicago White Sox. It's Ralph Garr in left, Bannister at short, Ward at second, Ziskin right, Johnson the DH, Lemon in center, Soderholm at third, Spencer at first, and Downing catching. Very interesting that Jim Spencer will be dropped all the way to the 8th spot as a left-handed hitter against the left-handed pitching Garvin, since Spencer is typically their cleanup hitter. But again, that tells you how the left-right splits, how managers managed, at least in 1977, and probably some, a lot today as well, that the lefty-righty matters. So again, anytime you get a game that does not incorporate lefty-righty splits in it, it just feels like an incomplete game, because that's one of the major strategies that managers use when making out lineups. Just my 2 cents. All right, let's go to Toronto's lineup. John Scott's going to lead off in left. Steve Staggs at second will hit second. Bob Baylor in center will hit third. Doug Rader at third base will back cleanup. Ron Fairley, their all-star representative, is the DH. He hits fifth. Batting sixth is first baseman Doug Alt. Hitting seventh is right fielder Alvis Woods. Batting eighth is shortstop Hector Torres. And batting ninth is Alan Ashby, the catcher. And not only do I have this game ready to go on the tabletop, I've also got it set up on the computer. So I'm going to be entering this game as I play it. So hopefully it won't take too long to do that, but it will also give me stats for the players, so I can keep you up to date on that, as well as making it so I don't have to go back after the fact and re-enter the game again. So hopefully that's not going to be too much of a difficulty. We'll find out. Right now, first batter up, it is Ralph Garr for the White Sox, lefty on lefty against Jerry Garvin. And as of game 90, Ralph Garr is hitting .286, 4 homers, and 31 runs driven in. Of course, this again is advanced with the super advanced defense and a few other super advanced rules sprinkled in, but mostly advanced. So Garr against Garvin, 311 against a left-hander, and that's a single. There's no ballpark effect because we're not doing super advanced. So it's simply a single for Garr. So let me go into the direct entry on the computer and make sure I get this going so I can play along on the computer along with the dice rolls and keep everything going here. So Ralph Garr, leadoff single. And that will now bring up Alan Bannister, the shortstop. And Garr is a C stealer. He will be held, but he will not. I don't think he's going to try to run. So Bannister, shortstop, number 2 hitter, is hitting .289, 2 homers, and 31 runs driven in. 3-5 against the left-hander, and that's a single 2 stars right there. So Alan Bannister, as the Sox are getting to Garvin early, single with 2 stars. That puts runners at the corners with nobody out. And Jerry Garvin seems to be in trouble early on, as we have runners at the corners and nobody out. That brings up the number 3 hitter, George Orta, another lefty. Now Bannister's a D stealer. He will not be held at first. So here's Orta, the left-handed hitting second baseman, and Orta on the season, .286, 11 home runs, and 44 runs driven in. So he got some power there. And here we go for Garvin. It is, get this off my screen here. It is a 4-6. Garvin against the lefty, 4-6. Fly ball, right field C. And right field C means the runner has to hold. So it's only a B. B is the only way you can score on a fly ball for a sacrifice fly. So since it's a C, it's a shallow fly to right, and everybody has to hold right where they are. So one away. Orta missing opportunity there for an RBI, but got up under it and didn't quite get enough of it. Hauled in out there by Alvis Woods. So Bring up Richie Zisk, the lone representative of the White Sox on the All-Star team. And Zisk, to date, is hitting .316, 13 homers, and 56 runs driven in. Got a chance for some more runs to drive in right here. .411 against a right-hander. That is a fly ball left field X. The left fielder in this case is John Scott. He's a 3E14. 3E14. 3 and a 4 should drop in for a base hit, I do believe, but we will double check it. 3 and a 4 on the outfielder. 3 and a 4 is a single 2 stars. Let's check for an error. He's an E14, and that's an 8. E14. There is no 8, but it's a single 2 stars. So Richie Zisk adds to his RBI total. He singles, Gar scores, Sox lead 1-0. Bannister will go to third. So runners again at the corners, and Zisk is an E-stealer. He will not be held. But runners at the corners again, and that's the way you get big innings, is keep going corner to corner and keep those runs moving. So runners are at the corners, 1 out, 1 already in. Sox lead 1-0. Brings up the DH, Lamar Johnson. 295, 7 home runs, and 43 runs driven in. Infield still at double play depth for the Blue Jays. We get a 3-6 against the lefty. 3-6. Fly ball center field B ? So chance for a sac fly perhaps. The runner on third, Bannister. His run rating is a 17. The center fielder's arm, that would be Baylor, is a 0. So it's still a 17. Then you add 2, makes it a 19. So basically a 1 to 19, he makes it. A 20, he is out. And he's out. Do you believe that? Look at that. A 20 and he's out. Really? Unbelievable. How do you like that? A double play. Instead of a sacrifice fly, it turns into a double play. Baylor with a laser. So it's 8 and then 8-2 unassisted double play. Sox come away with 1, but feel like they should have had a lot more. A double play, unbelievable. So let's go take a second to put this in the computer. It is a fly out to center field, and then Bannister is out. Unbelievably. Center field with the putout, and then center field with the assist to the catcher Ashby for the double play. And the inning's over. Unbelievable. Sox thought he had a big inning going, but the D20, tell you what, I swapped out the green D20 for a blue one because the green D20 was evil, but sometimes that blue one can be just as evil. All right, here is Wilbur Wood. He will start things out. And on the season, Wilbur Wood, his ERA is 6-4 with a 3.69 ERA. And John Scott, the batter, not really worried too much about the Blue Jay batting averages because they're all simulated by Strat computer. But I'll give it to you anyway. John Scott, 273, 2 homers, and 19 runs driven in. Wilbur Wood, 1-5. Scott struck him out. So Wilbur Wood gets the K on John Scott. And there's 1 away for the second baseman, Steve Staggs. So let's put the strikeout of Scott in the computer. Apologize for the maybe a little bit unsmooth here, but I'm experimenting to see if this is going to work or not, or whether it's too cumbersome. We'll see. Steve Staggs, second baseman, is up. Sitting 273, no homers, 7 runs driven in. 5-8. Ground ball second base X. That is Orta. He is a 4, E23. So 11 is the only one he can make an error on. The D20 has to be an 11. It's an 18, so he will not make the error. I'm sorry, it is a 12, so he just missed it. He will not make the error. 18 is a good play, so good play for Orta. 2 down. That D20 has to be an 11. It's the only spot that an E23 second baseman has an error, a 1 base error. So it is a good play, 4-3. Put that in the old computer. 4-3. Okay, Bob Baylor, who made that nice play from center field for the double play, is going to hit third. He's hitting 271, 4 homers, and 45 runs driven in. 5-8 for Wilbur Wood. Again, a ground ball, second base X. We're right back where we started. 4E23 for George Orta. It's a 10, so he will get to that. And there's no 11, there's an 8. So it's good play. George Orta up to the task. Is able to make the play, and the Blue Jays go rather quietly here in the first as Wilbur Wood knuckleballs them and keeps them off balance. We go to the second, 1-0 in favor of the Sox. Although, like I said, they feel like it should be more. But that double play on the fly ball to center really took out their wind of the sails there. All right, so here's Chet Lemon to lead things off. 8 home runs, 34 runs driven in, hitting .257 on the replay. 4-9 for Garvin is a 1-9 single. Anything else, it's a ground ball. It's going to be handled by Rader at third. That's a 7, so it's a single for Chet Lemon, leadoff single. He's a C stealer, so he will be held. He will be held. I don't know if he's going to try to run, though. Let's take a look and see if Lemon might want to run. They haven't done a lot of running this year, so let's see. As a C stealer, he starts out with an 11, and then being held. A C stealer being held leaves a -3. That's 8. Catcher arm for Ashby. What is Ashby's arm rating? Ashby is a -1. So no, they're going to hold him. They're not going to try it. They trust their bats more than their running, so Chet Lemon will stay stationary. He will be held, though, so the Blue Jays do have to honor that. And Eric Soderholm, the batter, third baseman. Eric Soderholm, .247, 13 homers, and 35 runs driven in. 6-6 against Garvin, the righty, and that's a good one for Soderholm. 1-6 is a double, 7-20 is a single. They're both 2 stars, so the run will not score either way. It is a single. He just missed a double. But it is a single, 2 stars. And that puts runners at the corners. Soderholm's a D stealer, so he will not be held on first base. But the Sox have something going again. Runners at the corners and nobody out. As the Sox have their hitting shoes on, but they're kind of nickel and diming them to death. No extra base hits, just all singles. They have 4 singles. Can't get the big hit going. Speaking of big hits, though, it's Jim Spencer, the batter, lefty on lefty matchup. Spencer, .252, 10 homers, and 45 runs driven in. Blue Jays at double play depth. They'll give up the run to get the out. 4-10. 4-10 is a fly ball center field X. That is the center fielder Baylor. He's a 2E5. 2 and a 15. Let's check him out. 2 and a 15 on the outfield chart. A 2 and a 15 is an F2, and this is a 12, and he is an E5 as a center fielder. There is no 12, so an F2 says fly out if there's a run on 30 scores, so it's a sacrifice fly by Jim Spencer. This time there is no double play, it's a straight sacrifice. Lemon comes in to score. Sox lead it 2-0. On the RBI sacrifice fly by Jim Spencer. So Sox up 2-0, and that brings up the number 9 hitter, Brian Downing. And for Downing, he is hitting .295, 3 homers, and 19 runs driven in. 6-7, ground ball second base X, that's Staggs. He's a 4E29 for Steve Staggs. 4 and a 14 might be a fielder's choice. Let's see, 4 and a 14 is a G2, and that's a 7, and he is an E29. E29, there is no 7, so it's a force play, fielder's choice. 4-6. 4-6 fielder's choice. Downing, the new runner, he's an E stealer. He will not be held. And back to the top of the order for Ralph Garr. Let's put the fielder's choice in the PC here. Fielder's choice. And that goes 4-6. And that brings up Garr. Ralph Garr singled his first time up and scored on the Zisk single. 1-6 for Gar against the lefty. Fly ball left field. And that's 2 away. So 2 down. And that's going to bring up Alan Bannister, shortstop. So Gar flies to left. And let's go ahead and put that in the old computer. Oh, that went to left, not to right. There you go. Whatever. Okay. Actually, was that the 3rd out? I don't remember that being the 3rd out. Oh, it was the 3rd out. My bad. Good thing I got the computer going. Sacrifice fly was 1 out here. Fielder's choice out. Okay, so it was the 3rd out. Okay. It won't be Alan Bannister batting. My bad. I think I got the computer there to keep me straight, huh? All right, so Wilbur Wood back on the bump. We'll be facing Doug Rader to lead off for the Blue Jays. Rader, 242 hitter, 7 homers and 32 runs driven in. 3-5 against the lefty, and he's going to strike out. So second strikeout for Wilbur Wood as he rings up Rader. And that brings up Ron Fairley. Lefty on lefty, 2-5, and that's a solid single for Rader. Solid single for Rader. So let me put those 2 results in there. We've got a strikeout of Rader and a single for Ron Fairley. So the strikeout, where are you? There you are. Strikeout there, and then the single. Fairley, I forgot to mention, 248 hitter, 13 homers and 53 runs driven in. And he just got the single, 1 out single. And it's going to bring up first baseman Doug Alt. 235, 2 homers and 17 runs driven in. Fairley will not be held. He's an E stealer, so he will not even be held. And Doug Alt waiting for the knuckleball from Wilbur Wood. 5-10 against a righty for Wood is a catcher X. Now the catcher, Brian Downing, is a 3 E5. 3 and a 20. So let's see what a 3 and a 20 brings. 3 and a 20 is a G2. And that's a 12, and he is an E5. There is no 12, so a G2 says here with the runner on first. It's a force play, so we'll call this one 2-4 on the fielder's choice. And Alt will reach. Alt is a D stealer. He will not be held either. But we're looking at a 2-4 fielder's choice there for out number 2. And that's going to bring up the right fielder, left-handed hitting Alvis Woods, or Al Woods, depending on how you want to refer to him. Fielder's choice. Catcher to second base. All right, so now coming up is Al Woods. And Al Woods is hitting 342, 3 homers and 30 runs driven in. So he's been one of the hot hitters for the Jays. 6'4", and that's a fly ball center field X. Center fielder is Lemon. He's a 3 E13. 3 and a 3 though, that's going to drop in for a hit. A 3 and a 3 will turn into a double 2 stars. So it won't score the run, but it's a double 2 stars. Puts runners at second and third. We'll check the error. That's a 9. He's an E13. There is no 9, so it's simply going to be a double for Alvis Woods, and he continues his hot hitting. A double for Al Woods. So 2 out trouble here for Wilbur Wood with the Blue Jays. However, he's going to be facing light-hitting shortstop Hector Torres, and so he might have a chance to get out of this. Torres, only 235 as a hitter. 3 homers and 15 runs driven in. 6-6 against the right-handed hitting Hector Torres. 6-6 is a ground ball to short. That's going to do it. So he pitches around that and keeps the Blue Jays off the board. So Wilbur Wood gets out of that mess. No damage done after 2 complete. It is the White Sox 2 and the Blue Jays nothing. So let's put this grounder to short in the computer so we can get on to the 3rd inning. 6-3. All right. right, now we're ready to go on to Alan Bannister, who was going to lead off the previous inning, but they'd already had 3 outs, and I was getting ready to give him 4 outs, which I didn't want to do, so glad I was able to keep that from happening. And now we're looking at Alan Bannister singled and was doubled up on that fly ball to center. 2-6 against the lefty. He's going to draw a leadoff walk. So Alan Bannister, leadoff walk. He's a D-stealer. He will not be held. And George Orta, the batter. Orta fly to right his first time. So Bannister is aboard with the leadoff walk. And sometimes those leadoff walks can come in to score quite often. It's one of those bugaboos, those leadoff walks. Here's Orta. Lefty on lefty, 6-5. Ground ball shortstop X, that's Torres. Torres is a 4, E14, so not much range. Might get it by him. 4-1, we definitely do get it by him. 4-1 is an SI2, so it's a single 2 stars. We'll check for an error. That's an 11, and he's an E14. E14, there is no 11, but it is a single 2 stars. So the Sox again, nickel and diming them. No power, but certainly getting the hits. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Ward is a D-stealer. He won't go anywhere. But the Sox are in business with their meat of their lineup coming up. Richie Zisk, runners at the corners and nobody out. 2-0 Sox here in the bottom or top of the third. And Jerry Garvin could be in trouble as Zisk is stepping up to the plate. 4-4. That's a catcher X. Catcher X. Catcher Ashby, 3E5. 3 and a 7. So a 3 and a 7 for a catcher is a P/P, and that is a 12, and he is an E5. There is no error there, but a P/P with a runner with runners on P/P. We're going to be using the wild pitch rating of the pitcher Garvin to see if he uncorks one. His wild pitch rating is only a 1. Now, if it's not a wild pitch, then it's a pop-up to the catcher and everybody has to freeze. So it is not a wild pitch. It's simply a pop-up up to shoot. So Zisk pops it up to Ashby, and that's a big out there for Jerry Garvin. No runner advancement off of Zisk. That pop-up right up to shoot. So he pops it up to the catcher Ashby, 1 away. And that brings up DH Lamar Johnson, just as dangerous, especially against lefties. 3-11. 3-11 against a lefty, though, is a ground ball shortstop A, and that's going to be a double play. That's something else that Johnson does a lot, is hitting the double plays. He did it right there. 6-4-3, and talk about a golden opportunity blown by the Sox. Runners at the corners, nobody out, and they cannot score them. A pop-up and a ground ball double play seals the fate of that inning. Unbelievable. They are just leaving. They're leaving runs on the base paths for sure. They should have 3 or 4 runs by now, you would think. But it's a 6-4-3 double play. And we go to the bottom of the 4th. Score remains, bottom of the 3rd. Score still remains Chicago 2 and Toronto nothing. So Garvin living dangerously, but getting out of it. And Wilbur Wood back out. We'll be facing Alan Ashby, the catcher. His first trip to the plate, switch hitting catcher. He's hitting 204. No homers, 26 runs driven in. 2-8 against the left-hander. He's going to ground to short. Handled by Bannister, 1 away. Now everybody's hit, so I'll eschew with the averages going forward. All right, here's John Scott. 6-4 against a right-hander. Is a fly ball center field X. That's Chet Lemon. 3E13. 3 and a 20. He'll get to that, but check for the error though. That's a 17. That's potentially a 2-base error. So let's take a look here. He's an E13. E13. There's a 17. So that's a 2-base error. 2-base error on Chet Lemon. So Scott will be the beneficiary of the E8 on Lemon. So first things first, let's go back and do the grounder to short by Ashby in the computer. And then we have to do the 2-base error on Lemon. Lemon's made quite a few errors this year. in this replay. So maybe just bad luck with the dice. I don't know, but 2 base error, and that will put the runner at second with 1 out. And as I look at their fielding stats after the 90 games and see how Lemon is doing in his defense, Lemon has now made, oops, must be on the back page here. Lemon, there he is. That's his 10th error. So coming into this game, he had made 9 errors with a .960 fielding percentage, and now he's just made error number 10. So quite a few errors there by Chet Lemon. But just a bad, you have to look at it as unlucky rolls as far as I'm concerned. Here's Steve Staggs. 2-5 for Staggs against the lefty. Wood is a fly ball to right field B question mark. So that means the runner on third has a chance to go, a runner on second has a chance to go to third. So let's look at the run rating of Scott, who runs pretty well, as a 15. You add 2, makes it a 17. Zisk has a 0 arm, so it stays at 17. So 1 to 17 he makes it. 18 to 20 he has to hold. Cannot be out, but it does go to third. So it's not a sacrifice, but the fly ball was deep enough to send the runner to third, but now there's 2 away, so it may or may not make a difference that the runner advanced, but still need to advance him anyway. So it's a fly to right. Runner goes to third. Zisk puts it away, but not able to throw out the base runner. Now Baylor's up, 2 down. Runner at third. 3-6, 3-6. Well, that getting to third may make a difference because you got a single 1 star right here on a 1 to 9. That would score the run. 10 to 20, and Soderholm snags it. To 15, so Soderholm snags it and prevents the run. So nice job there by Eric Soderholm to prevent that. That would have been the first run of the game for the Blue Jays, but Soderholm not known really that well for his defense, although he is a 2-rated defender, so maybe he is. I just don't usually think of the White Sox in defense. Those 2 words don't usually go together for me. So now we go to the top of the 4th in a 2-0 ball game, and Chet Lemon will get things off. He had that 2-base error in the bottom of the 3rd, so I'm sure he's looking to make amends for that. So he singled and scored in his first trip, so offensively he's certainly done all right. Just the defense got to tighten up. 6-7, that's ground ball second base X. That's Steve Staggs. Staggs a 4 E29. 4 and a 20, he'll get to that. E29 and a 14. Is there an error on that? E29 and a 14. There is not. So Staggs makes the play. 1 away. As Soderholm is coming up to the plate. Lemon with the ground out to Staggs. Put that in the computer. 4 to 3. Ground out. 4. Come on. Come on. 4 to 3. Okay. Eric Soderholm steps to the plate. Singled his first trip. 5-7. This time he'll strike out. There's a dot there, but Garvin's not tired, so strikeout will hold. 2 down for the big guy, Jim Spencer, the lefty. He had a sacrifice fly his first trip, so he's looking to see if he can't get something done again with 2 outs. Make some 2-out magic with but there's nobody on base, so maybe he can hit a long ball here. 4-5, probably not. 4-5 is a ground ball to first, handled by Doug Alt. And Garvin puts down the Sox in order. 1, 2, 3 here in the top of the 4th. We go to the bottom of the 4th, still 2-0 Sox. And Wilbur Wood will come back out to face Doug Rader. So let's put in that ground ball to first unassisted by Mr. Spencer. I think it might actually be better to do this with dice. Manual entry on dice on the computer. I think that's going to be the best way to go. And then I just put the dice roll in, and I don't have to do all this extra typing. I'll let the computer play it out. and put in the same result that I get doing what I'm doing. So I think we got it all straight there. So I think that might increase the speed of the play. Let's see. All right, so Doug Rader. Coming up, it's a 110. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 110 in the manual entry for dice. And then I'll let the computer tell me what happened. On a 110, it is a split chance. 110 is a split chance. 1 to 17 is a double. 18 to 20 is a single. And let's roll the d20. That is a 9, so that is going to be a double. Leadoff double for Doug Rader. Doug Rader with a leadoff double. And he's an E-stealer. He will not be held. That brings up Ron Fairley, the DH, followed by Doug Alt. 4-7. So let's do the 4-7 in the computer. 4 and a 7. And the play turns out to be a walk. So 4-7 against the lefty is a walk. And that's going to put runners at first and second. Dangerous times now for Wilbur Wood. The Sox are only carrying 9 pitchers, though, so not a whole lot of bullpen depth there. Everybody's well rested from the break, but you don't want to start getting into your bullpen too early because you'll wear guys out. So that'll bring up Doug Alt. Let's see what Doug Alt does. 5-8 for Wilbur Wood. It's a ground ball second base X. So now we're going to have to check the defensive roll and see what happens with that ground ball second base X. I think I might have to do that manually because I think the computer will override what I'm trying to do here otherwise. So let's go back and let's just roll it out. Ground ball second base X. Again, order is a 4 E23. And the 11, that's the error. That's the one that can get him an error, is an 11, and he found it. So it is an error. It is an error. When you get an E23, the 11's the only one. It's a one base error. 17's a two base error. 11 is the error, and we got it. So he would have gotten to it, but it's an error. So now, let's check the error result. It is an E1. E1, or one base error, will load the bases. So E4, second error of the game for the White Sox. And it has loaded the bases with nobody out. So serious times here for Wilbur Wood as this defense is starting to waver on him. Bases loaded, nobody out. They're going to play bat, and they're facing the hottest hitter the Blue Jays have, Al Woods. Even though it is lefty on lefty, it may not make a difference. Al Woods coming up. Infield's back. They'll give up the run to get the double play if they can get it. 4-6. He really needs a strikeout though, but he won't get it. 4-6 is a 1 to 11 single. 12 to 20. We got a forced play at second. It's a 3, so it's a single 1 star, and everybody moves up a base. Run scores. RBI single by Woods, and it's also going to move everybody else up a base. So the bases are still loaded with nobody out. How do you like that? Bases loaded and nobody out. 2-1 game. Now let's try this dice mode again. See if I can get this to work the way I want it to. All right, batter is Hector Torres, though, so we're getting to the lower part of the order. So they're hoping that they can get out of this, maybe just one other run. Just don't want to give up the lead. 2-7, ground ball shortstop A. It's a good thing they didn't play the infield in, because that plus means that would have gone through for a base hit. But since they were playing back, it's just a 6-4-3 double play. The run will score, but it does kind of kill the rally for him. It does tie the game at 2. Does move Alt to third base, but now there are 2 outs. So had they played the infield in, that would have gotten through for a base hit. So that result was a 2-7. So let's put that in there. 2 and a 7. And now we've got it 2-2. The runner at third, 2 outs, and Alan Ashby the batter. So Wilbur Wood has a chance to get out of this mess and keep the score tied. 6-11, switch hitter batting right-handed. 6-11 is ground ball pitcher X. Wood is a 2-0. So we know he will not make the error. The question is, can he get to it? 2 and a 9. I think he'll get to that. A 2 and a 9 is a G3. So it's good enough for him to get to it and make the play to end the inning. But the Blue Jays have tied the score here in the fourth. After 4 complete, we are tied at 2 apiece. And Jerry Garvin coming back out will be facing Brian Downing to lead things off. Brian Downing leads things off, so it is, if I put this in the computer, it was a 6-11, I think. Ground ball pitcher X, that's what I was going for. And we go to the fifth. Brian Downing steps to the plate. 3-8 against the lefty, and that's a 1-9 home run chance for Brian Downing. 1-9 on the home run. 17 though, he's going to fly to left. So unfortunately, he couldn't get it done. The 3-8 gave him a chance, but the D20 did not. That 17 turns that into a fly out for 1 away. So Downing is retired. That brings up Ralph Garr. I wish there was a way I had 2 cameras I could show you both things at the same time. I'm not that sophisticated. So here we go. Garr, 4-6. I'm going to put the fly to left there. 4-6 for Garr against Garvin. That's a fly to right. So 2 down as Garr flies to right on the 4-6 dice roll. So 4-6. And he did it. All right, so here's Bannister. 2 outs, bases clean. 4-9. 1-9 is a single. Anything else he grounds to Rader at third. That's a base hit. So how about that? A single. Single for Bannister. So Bannister gets the base hit. Base hit by Bannister. And Bannister is a D stealer rather. He's not going to be held. And George Orta, the batter. Sox looking for 2 out magic here. Let's get the thing in line here. Orta 6-11 against Garvin, and that is a fly ball center field B. I'm not playing the splits. I'm just playing the main little thing up here, and that's a fly to center. You only play the splits if you're playing super advanced, and I'm only doing the fielding in super advanced, not the hitting. So Orta will fly to center field on that 6-11. So that will end the inning. And we go to the bottom of the fifth. It'll be John Scott to lead off against Wilbur Wood. And this, let's see, Wood is a 6, so next inning is his point of weakness. Garvin has a 7, so he can go 2 more innings as long as he's effective. Here's John Scott. 3-6 against the lefty, and that is a ground ball to short. So easy play there for Bannister. And there's 1 away. 1 down. 1 away. And that's going to bring up Steve Staggs. 1-6 for Staggs. It will be a walk. So Staggs, the 1 out walk. He is a D stealer. He will not be held. So no worries there. They're not going to try anything crazy. You got Bob Baylor and Doug Rader. They're heart of the order coming up. So that's why they're not going to try anything. So it'll be Baylor. 1-4. And that's dangerous right there. Baylor, 1-4. On his card is a 1-17 home run. 18-20 is a double. It's gone. Home run, Bob Baylor. And not scoring those runs early is coming back to bite the Sox, as they are now losing to the lowly Blue Jays 4-2 on the Bob Baylor 2-run homer. Bob Baylor's 2-run homer has done it. And it's put the Jays ahead 4-2. So now it's Doug Rader. 1 out, base is cleared. 4-2 Jays. 5-7 is a walk. So Tabletop Earl's adage of the most likely result after a home run being a walk comes into play. I remember he said that a long time ago, and I found it to ring true quite a bit. So a walk in the offering. And that's going to bring up Ron Fairley, the lefty. You have a lefty-on-lefty matchup, and it can turn to double play, possibly. 6-7 for Wood, but instead it's a single for Fairley to center field. And let's check Lemon. He's a 0 arm. Rader, his run rating, he was not being held. His run rating is only a 9, though, so he's not really going to go anywhere. Doesn't get the 2-out boost. So it's just going to be a straight single. Straight single on that play. On the 6-7 result. It's a straight single. Runners at first and second, 1 out for Doug Alt, power hitting first baseman. Fairly powerful first baseman. I don't know how much power he had. 11 home runs, not that powerful, but can do it once in a while. 3-8. 3-8 is a ground ball pitcher B. That's a fielder's choice. So we'll call that 1-4 on the fielder's choice for out number 2. So the 3-8 is that fielder's choice. Now runners are at the corners with 2 outs. And it takes us to Al Woods. Al Woods has doubled and singled, so he's continued his hot hitting despite facing the left-hander. 5-8. 5-8's ground ball second base X. Again, that is order. You have to avoid that 11. But now that's a 17. That could be dangerous again. I think that might be a 2-base error for an E23. And it is. E23, a 17 is a 2-base error. That's a 17. So we got a 2-base error. Error number 3 on the White Sox. And they're a little lethargic from their All-Star break, apparently. As that's going to score another run, make it 5-2. And Alt will go to third. So how do you like that? How does one like that? So now I have to put this in manually because I think on the errors, despite wanting me to roll the D20 manually, it rolls it for me on error check, so I don't want that to happen. So we're just going to call this a 2-base error on Orta, his second error of the game. Now we got second and third with 2 outs and Torres the batter. So chance for Wood to get out of this mess. 2-7. And he will. It's a ground ball to short. Going to end the inning, but the Blue Jays pick up 3 runs. They've scored 5 runs in the last 2 innings to take a 5-2 lead as we go to the 6th. Wilbur Wood, his defense is definitely not helping him at all. And at the end of 5 complete, they find themselves down 5-2 against Jerry Garvin, who on the year for the Blue Jays was only 10-18 with a 4.19 ERA. So you would think the Sox would be all over that, but they've left a lot of men on base and have no extra base hits. 2-7. Ooh, Zisk just missed a home run. 2-7 is a walk. So a leadoff walk to Zisk. He will not be held. He's an E-stealer. So that'll bring up Lamar Johnson, who does have good power and has a good column against the lefties, but he's also a heavy candidate to ground into a double play. So you've got to be aware that he's already done it once. They really don't need to have that happen again. But he's not a good hit and run man either. So 1-5. 1-5, a 1-3 is a single. 4-20, he lines it to Rader. And he will line it to Rader, so at least it's an out, but not a double play. 1 away. And that's going to bring up Chet Lemon, speaking of errors. Lemon. 1-6. 1-6 is a strikeout. So Lemon down on strikes. So let's put that line out to third and that strikeout in the computer real quick. Line out to third. And then the strikeout of Lemon. And that's going to leave it on the shoulders of third baseman Eric Soderholm to get something done. It'll be up to Soderholm. 2-7. Soderholm 1-3 is a homer. Not a big chance, but a small chance. 1-3 would be that home run that they desperately need with the 14, so fly to right. And that's going to end the inning. So Jerry Garvin has quieted the Sox bats as Soderholm just missed it. And now we go to the bottom of the sixth. Bullpen is loosening for the Sox now. As we're at the point of weakness inning for Wilbur Wood. They do have Jack Cusick, the right-hander, loosening in the bullpen. Right now, Alan Ashby will lead it off. Switch hitting catcher, hitting right-handed, 4-8. 4-8, and that's a good play to be right-handed. 4-8 is a 1-6 double, 7-20 is a single. And that's a double for Alan Ashby. So it is the Blue Jays getting these extra base hits with doubles and home runs, not the Sox. Kind of reversal of fortune here. Dice have not been kind to Chicago in this game. Here's John Scott, center fielder, leadoff man, or left fielder rather, leadoff man. Ashby not going to be held. He's an E-stealer. 5-10 against Wilbur Wood. It's a catcher X. That's Downing. And Downing is a 3-E-5. 3-10. I think he'll be okay with that. Let's see here. A 3 and a 10 on the catcher chart is a P/F. And that's a 12 as an E5. E5, there is no 12. So a P/F is, where's the P/F on the board here? Here it is. Foul out to the catcher, and if there's not a wild pitch, because we're using the wild pitch rating, which is a none, so it's a foul out to the catcher. So Scott fouls out to Downing for out number 1. And now that's going to bring up second baseman Steve Staggs. So let's put that in the computer, a foul out to the catcher. And now we're looking at Steve Staggs. 2-9 for Staggs. It's a fly ball, right field, question mark. So again, you got one of those ones where you could try to go to third at no charge. Can't be out. You can only have to hold. Ashby, his speed is a 10. So a 1-10, he goes to third. 11-20, he holds. So he will hold. So no chance for Ashby to move up. Wasn't hit deep enough. 2 down. And that will bring up Bob Baylor. So Bob Baylor homered his last time up. Had that big 2-run homer. 5-7, and that's a walk. So this time Wilbur Wood doesn't want any part of him. He's going to walk. Now that's 2 base runners this inning, so 1 more base runner other than reaching by an error, and it will be Wilbur Wood will have reached his point of weakness. That brings up Doug Rader. 2 outs, 2 on. 2-9, struck him out. So big out there for Wilbur Wood. Keep his team in the game at 5-2. They can't afford to give up any more runs the way they've been hitting, or shall I say not hitting. So we go to the 7th. Jerry Garvin will now start his point of weakness inning, and he will be facing the lefty Jim Spencer. Put this strikeout in there for the last out of the previous inning. And now Spencer is up. Spencer, sacrifice fly and a grounder to first. 2-7, he's going to ground to second this time. 1 away. And that will bring up Brian Downing. 1-4, that's a walk. So Brian Downing draws the 1-out walk. He is an E-stealer. He will not be held. So let's put in the ground ball to second plus the walk in the computer. 4-3 ground out plus the walk. Puts Downing at first. 1 away for the leadoff man, Ralph Garr. Garr singled and flied to left and fly to right. 1-3. 1 for 3. Of course, Downing not being held. 2-8 against the lefty. Ground ball, shortstop B. That's a fielder's choice. So now Garr will take over at first base. He will be held because he's a C stealer. They will have to hold him. He's not going to go anywhere down 5-2, but they do have to at least give the token hold. So fielder's choice on the play goes 6-4. Torres over to Skaggs. And that brings up Mr. Bannister. He's actually had a perfect day. 2 singles and a walk. 1-8, not this time. It's a ground ball to short. And since he's a right-handed batter, the shortstop's not responsible for the hold, so it does not go through. It'll just simply be a 6-3 grounder. And we're at the 7th inning stretch here at Exhibition Stadium. And surprisingly, the Blue Jays lead it 5-2. Bullpen activity again. Cusick loosening for the Sox. They're going to see how much longer they can go with Wilbur Wood. I mean, he's got a basically rubber arm throwing that knuckleball, but got to stay effective too. So he's going to stay in there to face Fairley, who's a lefty on lefty. Then you might get the right-handers coming in against Doug Alt and Al Woods. Well, Al Woods is a lefty too, so let's see what they do. 5-5 against the lefty. Ooh, and not good. 1-9 to triple, 10-20 is a double, so I think this is it for Wilbur Wood. 1-9 is a triple, and it is. Ron Fairley, it's a triple. He hit 2 triples on the year, so it's not totally unheard of. So Ron Fairley, the aged Ron Fairley, his 3rd hit of the game, proving why he was the Toronto Blue Jays All-Star. He triples, and that's going to have forced the infield to come in. They can't afford to give up any more runs, and the Sox are going to their pen. They're going to be bringing in Jack Cusick, the right-hander. Jack Cusick. So let's get to the bullpen for the Sox. Wilbur Wood will call it a day with Doug Alt stepping in. And Jack Cusick, the pitcher. Cusick on the season, on the real season, was 0-1 with a 3.63 ERA. Part-time starter, part-time reliever. He does have a long relief rating, so if he's effective, he can pitch the rest of the game. So let's see here. Alt is up to the plate. Runner at third, nobody out. Infield is in. 2-3 against a right-hander is a walk. So he comes in and walks Doug Alt right off the bat. Infield's going to still have to stay in because they're not going to play back for a double play and give up that run. They just can't afford to give up any runs. So they're gonna still play the infield in. There's no real option here. And here's Al Woods, the red hot Al Woods. Woods is, well, he's got 2 fielder's choices, reached on the air and a walk. So he's not real hot this game, but he's hot for the season on the replay. 3-5, ground ball first base A. So let's check it out. Ground ball first base A. Let's look at the chart. Ground ball first base A. Let's see how we're going to play this. In fact, I think what I do, let me go back to my chart, a little rule book, I should say. I don't have that out, and I should. Let me go pull that real quick because I do use that super advanced in the rule book for ground outs and stuff like that. So let me get to that chart so I can play this the way it's supposed to be played, at least by the rule that I go by. So let's look. Ground ball, super advanced ground ball result chart, which I consider part of the fielding, which is why I use this. So runners are at the corners, first and third. You get a ground ball A with the infield in. First and third, ground ball A, infield in. You get an 8. 8 says batter out, run on third holds, run on first, advances to second. All right, so Alt will go to second. Fairley has to hold. Woods is out. And we'll call this, was it 3-5? That was ground ball to first. So Spencer just steps on the bag for out number 1. Woods is retired. And now that brings up Torres with runners at second and third and only one out. So let's put that in the computer. We get a ground out by Woods. He is out. Alt goes to second. Fairley stays as base on 3 unassisted. All right, so Hector Torres is up with the infield in once again. 1-5, struck him out. Big strikeout there for Cusick. And that's out number 2. Cusick trying to be a miracle worker here with that strikeout. Now there's 2 away. The infield can go back to normal depth for the Allen Ashby at bat. Ashby's switch hitter will now turn around and bat left-handed against Cusick. 4-9 against the lefty for Cusick. Oh, that's bad. 1-15 is a home run. However, Ashby does have weak power. It would still be a base hit. 1-15 would be a single 2 stars that would score both runs. 16-20, and Zisk will get to it. It's a 10. It's a single 2 stars for Ashby, who is doubled and now singled. Brings in 2 runs. First one is charged to Wilbur Woods. Second one is charged to Cusick. It is now 7-2 Blue Jays. And who would have thunk that in the beginning? Looks like the Sox were going to blow them away in the first 2 innings, but it has been a total different ball game since then. And Ashby, a 2-run single, has really just blown this game wide open. As both runs score, 7-2, and John Scott the batter. Ashby not going to be held. 5-7, Cusick, 5-7's ground ball second base X. That's Orta. Got to avoid that 11 or 17. And he got an 8, so he avoided that, so that's a good play. So good play made there by Orta to end the inning, but 2 more runs come in after 7 complete. It is 7-2 Blue Jays. And Jerry Garvin, no sense of taking him out. He's just controlling things big time. 4-3 on the ground out. So Jerry Garvin will be facing George Orta to start the 8th. Garvin walked 1 batter, so he's still got a couple things to go before he reaches point of weakness. Well, here's Orta, lefty on lefty. 1-4, pop out to second, and that's 1 away. So the Southside Hitmen not hitting today at all. I think they still have hangover from the All-Star break. They better get busy, because after this game, got 1 more in Toronto, and then they move on to Fenway to play the Red Sox. So they better get their act together if they want to stay in this race. Here's Richie Zisk. 4-11. 4-11 is a fly ball left field X. That's John Scott. And John Scott's a 3 E14. 3 and a 16, he'll get to that. E14 and a 9, probably a good play. E14. Yep, no 9 there, so it's a good play. Fly to left. 2 down. So Zisk flies out to Scott and left. 2 away. Brings up Lamar Johnson. Lamar Johnson. .65 ground ball shortstop X. That's Hector Torres. Torres is a 4 E14. 4 and a 7. That could be interesting. 4 and a 7. 4 and a 7 is a G3. Just did get it. G3. And that's a 4. And he's an E14. But how about that? E14 and a 4 is a 1 base error. So John Scott boots it. Keeps the inning going. First error on the Blue Jays after 3 by the Sox. So about time they made an error, I guess. So 1 base error on the shortstop Torres. Puts Johnson at first with 2 down for Chet Lemon. Johnson, E-Stealer, will not be held, obviously. Here is Lemon. 1-7 against the lefty. 1-13 is a double. 14-20, he flies to center. It's a 1, it's a double, so it's a chance for Johnson to score. with 2 outs, he gets the 2-out boost. He was not being held, which gives him another boost. So Johnson starts out as a 9. He wasn't being held, makes him a 10. There are 2 outs, makes him a 12. And then the center fielder's arm, Baylor's a 0. So it's a 1 to 12 to score him. And either that or leave him in second, third, and wait for Soderholm to try to do something. They're going to try to score Johnson on a 1 to 12. And he makes it. So Johnson will score on the double by Chet Lemon, and it finally breaks the scoreless streak of 5 straight innings. Sox finally get back on the board, cut the lead to 7 to 3, and Soderholm the batter. And the way I'm playing, I'm not worried about the second. I'm not worried about Lemon taking third on the throw or any of that. That's more super advanced. But Lemon with the double does score Lamar Johnson and cuts the lead to 7 to 3. And Eric Soderholm the batter. Now Garvin's got to worry about getting tired. 6-7, ground ball second base X. That is Staggs. He's a 4 E29. 4 and a 16. 4 and a 16 is probably a good play. Let's take a look here. 4 and a 16 is a G2. That is an 11, and he is an E29. E29 there. Oh, now the Blue Jays are messing things up. Second baseman, an E29. There's an 11 right there. There's a 1 base error. So that is an E4. It's going to keep the inning going. Put runners at the corners for Big Jim Spencer. And you can't count these against Garvin's fatigue because these are errors. So it's not anything that he can control. He's now feeling the effects of shoddy fielding the same way that Wilbur Wood was feeling it. And now my red dot, one of my red dice fell all the way through, so let's get that back. And now it's a big at bat for Jim Spencer. Bullpen going for the Blue Jays. Pete Vukovich, the righty, is loosening now for the Jays. So runners at corners. Soderholm will not be held, I don't believe. No, he's a D steal. He will not be held. Spencer, lefty on lefty against Garvin. 2-6, struck him out. So that's going to end the inning. Sox had something going there with those fielding errors, but can only get 1 run. And that's all they're going to get. So struck him out. And we go to the bottom of the 8th. Still a 7-3 game. Cusick still in there for the Sox. And I think Vukovich is going to finish things out for the Blue Jays. Garvin's day is done. 7 innings. So Vukovich will come in and pitch in the top of the 9th. Right now Staggs leads things off against Cusick. 1-11. Ground ball to first. 1 away. And I'll keep this from going in the computer. I'll put these in the computer the last inning or so after the game's over. Let's speed things up a little bit. Baylor 3-8. Fly to right, 2 down. So 2 up, 2 down for Doug Rader. Rader 5-8 against Cusick is a ground ball to third. Soderholm's got him. So easy inning there for Cusick. As Jays go quietly, but they hold a 7-3 lead as we go to the 9th. It'll be Downing, Gar, and Bannister, but we could get a pinch hitter for Downing. And it's very likely that we will. But the first things first, you're going to get Pete Vukovich in the ball game. So Pete Vukovich, if I can find his card, there he is. So Pete Vukovich is on for the Jays. And we'll get a pinch hitter for Downing. Oscar Gamble is going to pick up a bat. Actually, you know what? It's not going to be Oscar Gamble. It's going to be Royal Stillman. We'll save Gamble in case they get a rally going with people on base. So Stillman's the pinch hitter. Royal Stillman is that pinch hitter against Vukovich. 1-11. Fly to right. 1 away. So 1 down. Stillman fails. Brings up Ralph Gar. 2-11. 2-11 for Gar. He grounds to third. Handled over there by Rader. Last chance for the Sox. They're down to their final out. Alan Bannister. Last chance for the Sox. 1-8 for Bannister. And he's going to ground to short. That's the ball game. Ball game is over. Sox win it by the final score of 7-3. So let me put this in the computer, these last few results, and then we'll get the tally going. So let's see where I stopped on the computer. Staggs was batting, so it's 1-2-3 inning in the 8th for the Jays. So let's do his numbers here real quick. Ground ball to first. So we'll get that, and then I can get the totals for you. Official totals. Then I'll have to re-enter this game in the computer. It ought to be there. Fly to right by Baylor. So let's do that. Okay. And then Raider grounded to third. In fact, I think when I do the 9th, I'll actually, since you're looking at it, or since you're just not looking at anything, I'll put the computer over here, see if that makes it any more interesting to actually watch what's happening. Possibly. Let's get this out of the way. So let's bring this up on the screen a little bit better. Glare is going to be awful though, I think. So anyway, I'll try to see what I can do about that. So in the 9th, what we had to do in the 9th is bring in the new pitcher, Vukovic, in for, oh, I didn't want to bring that, I wanted to bring him over, come on. So he's in for Garvin, and then for Downing, we had Royal Stillman pinch hitting for Downing. So there's Stillman for Downing. Okay, and then let's see here. Stillman fly to right. So we'll do that on a fly to right. Fly out to right field. Why did that cut out?